A very good evening to all the participants who have joined us today, the early birds. Thank you so much for being with us on time. I'm Bhuvna, your moderator for this event, and my colleague Mr. Nanda, the co-host. Together with Dr. Sanat, the Atlassian Community Leader for Malaysia, we welcome you for our first event for the year. This is indeed a historic session since we kick-starting Atlassian community events in Malaysia after more than 2 years. We're extremely excited to have you here today. The topic we have chosen for today Atlassian community event is Jira Software Cloud Overview for Agile Leaders and Managers. We believe this topic is relevant given that many of us are working from home and yet business as usual. Being able to leverage tools like Jira software is important to improve the productivity and effectiveness of managing agile team has become a necessity. So let's quickly run through the agenda. I will do a quick introduction followed by Dr. Sanat, who will do the main talk on the subject of Jira software cloud overview for agile leaders and managers. Dr. Sanat will then do a 10 minutes of live demonstration of the key features in Jira software. This will be followed by a Q&A session and the last but not least with the lucky draw. For our participants today, we have 10 gift vouchers of worth $25 each to be given away. So stay tuned till the end and we should end the session by 9:15 p.m. Dr. Sana, so can you show off the agenda? Dr. Sanat, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
We have your welcome agenda, is that right?
Yes. So that's the welcome agenda. And so can I just want to have some show of hands? We have a very few people over here. Yes, Charu, we'll be recording this session. How many of us here have used the Agile tool? Can I have some message over in the comment box or show of hands? Is there anyone have used? Like we have Charu. Okay, great. So is that Edwin? Yes, Edwin. Rosalie, have you used, right? Yeah, Candice also. So Dr. Sanat, we have all the participants who are here has experience on using the Agile tool. So I'm sure all of you had your own experience. It's good or bad. Whatever the case, maybe Agile software tools must promote individual and interactions. So the danger is that if we are overly focused on the tool, we may neglect the core Agile value, which is individual and interactions. So Agile and Agile software must coexist. And how exactly we do that? So today, we have the privilege to have Dr. Sanat, our own Atlassian community leader for Malaysia. I've known Dr. Sanat for a number of years, now as an Agile enthusiast, trainer, and coach. So we have worked together and we have run many initiatives over the last couple of years, and I'm confident he will share some of his thoughts on this subject. Over to you, Dr. Sanat.
Thank you, Bhuvna. Thank you so much. And on behalf of Atlassian community in Malaysia, I really want to extend a warm welcome to all of you. And particularly we have Tamana here coming in all the way from India. Welcome on board to you as well, Tamana. Now, before we even begin the subject, I was just thinking if we could probably talk about what is this Atlassian community event all about? Well, in very simple words, the aim is to connect globally and meet locally. And what does that really mean? And we're talking about essentially a host of people across the world with a shared mission to build relationship and expand their knowledge of Atlassian products. So we are quite focused about Atlassian products. It's worth probably understanding for the benefit of the rest of us here what exactly those products are. Well, there's a whole range of products we're talking about, right from planning and tracking and support and fix, code, build and ship, and even to collaborate. So I personally do not have the benefit of knowing all these tools, and I've tried some of them. I'm sure some of you may have the experience, but whatever it may be, this is what we were trying to do in this event, this community event, over the course of months and perhaps even years, to start to decipher the details of these products, more so to understand them, not so much using it if we may not be able to do right now. So now that we know the range of tools we have, now what exactly is my role here with you? I'm here talking to you. I'm very excited, as you can see. Well, really, I've always been using Atlassian products for a long time. And when this role came up, I was thinking, well, that's quite interesting because I really felt connected to the tool. And I think my role is to try and, as the word described in the slides, to steward the movement and invest in trying to spread the word around. We have a very diverse group today. So I will try and go through some basics for the benefit of some of us here. I hope experienced individuals attending the session today can bear with us as we go through some of the fundamentals. So you see here, we actually have a very thriving community of leaders across the world. And as a leader, we hope to basically bridge the gap between what this tool can actually do against what we're actually doing down the ground. So I think that's the value we bring to relate, to make it more palatable to all of you. And it's really a vast network of volunteer-run events. As you can see, we are in 487 cities over loads of smaller towns, and the word has really gone around. But I think there's so much we can do, and that is why I thought today perhaps it might be wise to start with probably one of the most popular product in the Atlassian suite is the Jira software. And that is one that I have personally had some experience in, which I thought it makes perhaps good sense to share them with you. So let's even talk about why the word Jira software. Jira software itself could mean that you host the entire solution in the data center. That is, if you have an entire complete control of the environment, or you could actually have it on the cloud the way I am doing it right now. And that pretty much works the same for all intents and purposes. Either solutions actually have pretty much the same feature. Now, the other question I get very often, I must say, is why is it called Jira? Now, well, when Atlassian introduced Jira in 2002, it was really a sort of a bug tracking tool or an issue tracking tool. And here's the funny part. Atlassian named this product after Gojira, which means Godzilla in Japanese. And you know what it is, right? You can see that on your screen. The idea came from that name because before they developed the tool, Atlassian coders were already using a bug tracking software called Bugzilla. It's even there right now. It's actually still a tool, pretty actively used by some people. So here you go. Jira stands today as one of the more popular project management tools. Well, let's try and understand the breadth of alternatives. You may use the word competitors if you like, because I wanted this session to be educational and as much as it's talking about Jira. So I thought this slide might be quite useful. While we're here to talk about Jira and all the good things it does, let's be conscious about the other alternatives. I have not personally experimented on these tools myself, So I admit I'm quite biased to say, but I'll say it anyway, that Jira has been around for a long time and it has significant market presence. But let me also very quickly qualify myself by saying that by no means these tools that I'm implying here are inferior by any standards. So they're just there for you to be aware of. And of course, you see Trello right there, and that's actually part of the Atlassian family right now. So let's get into the basics, right? What is Agile? Let's try and understand Agile from the most fundamental question. And there are loads of talks about Agile everywhere. And to me, perhaps one of the simplest definition would be it's really an iterative approach. And by having this iteration over and over again, you're basically delivering value much earlier, which means it's faster, and fewer headaches because you're actually trying to plan, design, and build in smaller chunks. So that reduces the headaches part of it. And exactly how do you achieve that? Well, agile teams typically work on small, consumable increments. When I say consumable, the team themselves embrace the idea of how much they think is sufficient for them, given the capacity and the capability. And thereafter, the team will start planning, deciphering the details, working out the plans and the sprints, if you want to talk about Scrum. And the results are then evaluated continuously because you've got the iterations. And here's a chance for you to keep going back and looking what you've done over and over again in the process, trying to improvise them every single time. So that's a very natural way to respond to change. And that's the best part I like about Agile. And well, by background, I'm a PMP holder, and I, for the longest time, ditched PMP, and I'm into Agile because I believe in it so much, and I think it brings a lot of value, not just for software teams, but also for a lot of industries that now see value in Agile. Now let's get back to the idea of Jira. Who should use Jira? And I think many of us here in this presentation probably have experience already, and you've known who uses them. Typically, Scrum Masters, product owners, leaders, administrators, you get some stakeholders at times using them as well. And basically anyone who is there to ensure the health of the project would find Jira particularly useful. And it really, I think, if configured well, I like to repeat this statement, if configured well, it really helps complement your team's work process. It does a long way to do that. And Jira as a project management tool, we talk about, it's really a tool that supports quite a bit of methodology. So it's a very robust tool for almost any domain. We'll see some of that later in the live demo. So it beats Scrum, beats Kanban, or your own unique flavor. You may have a mixed methodology. You may have your agile boards. You may have your backlogs. You may have your roadmaps. You may have your reportings, your integrations you do, and all the add-ons you come about. You can actually plan, track, and manage all of that quite seamlessly using one single tool. Now, that's quite an amazing feat, I would think. Maybe just a quick pause for a moment, and I just wanted you to, for those of you here, can you just write on the chat box which of these methodology have you used primarily in the tool that you're using right now? I'm not sure which tool are you using, and could you just share that in the chat if that's possible? Okay, brilliant, Charu. You're there, so you are the master. Nice. So Candice, are you using Jira right now, or do you have another tool that you're using in the company? Edwin as well? What tool Okay, Edwin is using Jira. Candy, yeah, interesting. Jira and Google Sheet, whatever works for you. I won't ask Bhuvna and Nanda because I know what they do. Well, they pretty much have the same answer as the rest.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I think that being said, let's set the context to just basically try and understand, uh, you know, try and understand Jira from the perspective of what it does. Now, before I move into the demo, I get this one question quite a lot. And in fact, today, just today, I was in this PMI Malaysian chapter. We call it the Agile Squad. So I'm in the Agile Squad in the PMI Malaysian chapter. And somebody asked this question and said, "No, we don't need the tool. I mean, Agile talks about individuals and interactions. It doesn't talk about tool. So we don't need the tool." Now, I had a different take to this. I said, yes, the need for individuals and interaction is the most important thing. But there's one problem that may arise if you don't use a tool for primarily two reasons. Number one, the communication side of things. Number two, the visibility. And number three, the health of the project. Now, while you can still use the other tools, templates that we still use, it may be a challenge when your team starts to get scale, when you have distributed teams, especially right now, right? When we are in the lockdown period, we are not really at work. So having a tool at this time to address some of those pain points, it's so important more than ever before. So yes, that was my take to this, huge discussion going on in that WhatsApp group. And well, someone also asked the other question: isn't agile about mindset? Isn't it about the culture and the practice? I said yes, it's all that is true. But the thing is, how do you manifest them? By just knowing that culture is good enough, but how do you manifest them into practice? And that's where a tool becomes handy. Now, I often like to quote this by Jeff Patton, who is actually an agile trainer. Now, he said, "We don't need accurate documents. We need a shared understanding." Now, by no means he said to use Jira, right? There's nothing about using a tool, but we need a shared understanding. Now, in today's day and age, you need a very good document that captures something explicitly true in real time and reflecting everybody else's work at one single point of truth. And here you are, a tool like Jira does it quite well. Well, that still doesn't answer the question, right? Why Jira software? Well, I think for most of us here using Jira, probably it's, that's obvious to me. But perhaps there were others who, for some reason, couldn't attend the session today. They may be wondering why Jira software. And I've got three fundamental reasons that I typically share. Now, think of everyone in your team, getting everybody on the same page, whether it's the collaboration part, the tracking, and the delivery of outcomes. Isn't that so very important? And think about the flexibility and the extensibility that is brought by a tool like Jira, or for that matter, even other tools, Trello, Asana, whatever you want to use, Basecamp. It should have that ability. And I think Jira particularly has that flexibility and extensibility that is actually quite astounding. And you will see, and some of you may have had opportunity to mix and match, you've got Scrumban, you've got Kanban. So you're actually mixing Kanban with backlog, and you're mixing your Kanban with your Scrum. So you can actually have this extensibility and the flexibility that Jira brings, which is, I think, very amazing. So in essence, you're actually customizing and fitting your needs using the tool. And that's very important, right? It's not the other way around. Using the tool to fit your needs. No, using your needs and the tool being able to cater towards your needs. That's what we're talking about. And the third reason, and I think I mentioned this earlier, is the single point of truth. And I think from every stages, right, from the ideation stage, I was talking to this one company quite recently, and they told me that, Sanat, we want to capture, we want Jira to manage not just our product development stage, and they apparently have other stages, where you do your R&D and when you do your proof of concept. They wanted all those stages as well to be manifested into their project management. And here you can do that quite well. And you can iterate and you can transgress, you can transform those different stages progressively, iteratively. As you progress over time, your team gains maturity, your product gains finesse, and is ready for deployment. So that's amazing how it becomes ready over time using that one single point of truth from concept to launch. And that's what I meant here. And so Jira allows you to do that using its world-class suite of tools, and not just Jira, to say the least. So yeah, I'll just pause here for a bit. I've been saying and talking quite a lot. Can I just have a bit of thumbs up to see if everybody is okay with how things are going on so far? Or thumbs down if it's a bit too fast, whichever the case may be, right? We are agile, right? So we need to elicit feedback and get some retrospectives every now and then. Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Charu. There's a few of us today, so yeah, feel free to shout out. What about Edwin and Candice? Are you okay so far with what's going on?
Yes, we got some thumbs up from them.
All right. Okay, brilliant. Okay, I didn't see that. Sorry, I was just opening a chat window. All right. So let's head on straight into the little, I wouldn't say a demo, but it's just more like a high level overview. Now, this is the question I get pretty often, right? How do you choose a project management platform? Right, let's forget about Jira for a minute. Well, the answer is we need a solution that addresses your project requirements, not the other way around. So understanding the project requirement it's key. It's very, very important. And which means you need a platform to support what you want to do. Now, fortunately, the designers of Jira has thought about this quite a lot. And you will find that as I show you the first demo, they've already thought about things like what would the CRM team would do, what would the finance team do, what would the operations team do. So they're already pre-built templates. So they've sort of understood what these different functional units are doing. But you may have your own take to this. No, I'm not interested in this. It's not what I do. So still, it's your needs first. It's never the tool. Always bring your needs to the fore, right? That's what I always tell my clients who talk to me. I said, never allow any vendor to dictate their terms and say, this is what you need. Now, let's say if you've chosen Jira as your platform. Now, I think probably 9 out of 10, you would have made the right decision. Now, even if you choose Jira as your project management platform, remember that's only the beginning. And I tell you from experience that I have gone to companies and they have used Jira, but they've not done it well. So in essence, you need to know what exactly do you want out of Jira and how Jira can help you. That's important. Now, Jira itself is highly adaptive with various capabilities. You may not be using all the features of Jira, but focus on the ones that bring value. Now let's dive into the ways in which you can configure Jira to suit your entire team and your organization project requirements. Now, fortunately, with some training, and I presume those of you here have done that, you can actually customize Jira for your project requirements and And it's actually quite simple. But the key is to understand your business requirements. I keep saying this and again, because otherwise it will just be a white elephant. You need to know how to configure Jira to reflect those specific workflows and processes that are unique to your organization. And in the next couple of minutes, I just want to share 4 different approaches that you can take when you're investing in a tool like Jira, or you're already investing. Perhaps you can relook at some of them and some of the use cases perhaps. The first aspect is to first understand your project types. I mean, it's really important by starting on the right footing, right? You need to know the project type. Selecting the project type can help minimize the need for additional configuration, because you're starting on the right template, so to speak. And you will have your customized workflows, issue types, issue fields, and you're predefined clearly in your template. And you just have to adjust these settings to suit your individual needs of the project. Now, there are loads of templates that comes built in, and Jira has a number of great pre-built templates, and it runs from software development, it runs from service management, marketing, sales, legal, operations, personal development, design, finance, human resource. I think it's actually quite endless. So allow me to just very quickly take you into that quick screen share. If I can just take you. Okay, are you able to see my
Yes.
screen?
Yes, Anand.
Yes. So it's really about, this is what you see. Typically, you see my loads of projects here that I have right now. And you have your very simple menu schemes where you have your latest work that you see here. And you have all the list of projects that you've been working on. And obviously the top few ones are the ones that you've been quite actively working on. And you've got some very interesting filters. Like for example, you have loads of projects across teams. You don't want to see all of them. Use the filters. The dashboard becomes handy. But what I want to show you right now is basically the creation of a project itself. And you see, this is what I've been saying earlier. You technically have loads of templates, right? And these templates are really about trying to map your business needs against what a typical need for that functional unit will need. For example, if you're looking at marketing, then you could probably look at your email campaigning, your event planning, your go-to-market, your management of your campaign. You're looking at legal, you're looking at your perhaps document approval, and so on. You're looking at human resource, you will have loads of that. So it's really about trying to understand what you want. And for example, if I were to select HR service management, and if I were to click this template, I would have somewhat predefined settings for that. And that's, I think, a very good start to begin with when you're talking about the project. So let's head back to our slide back again. And now that we have covered the first one, let's look at the second bit of how we can potentially use Jira. Now, I think this is also a very important part, because the backbone of any successful project is the project team, right? And a typical team will consist of its own structure, its hierarchy, or whatever you may call it. And often more project roles can be added on, right? Supposing if in a procurement team, you've got the buyer, you've got the seller, you've got the guy who does the procurement evaluation, and so on. So you can create your own roles, and that becomes very important, because you are actually customizing Jira to make it closer to what your team naming conventions are. And you can assign multiple teams to groups, and you have project roles, and you can actually have permission roles. You can have different access levels, and you can think of setting up your entire department basically using these roles. And supposing if you are in charge, say for example, in charge of a procurement in your organization, your procurement could be, say for example, you could have the procurement manager, you could have the buyers, you could have your analyst, you can have the guy who does the decision making to go ahead. And these are specific roles you can create. So let's try and understand how do we do that in Jira per se. So let me try and pull up my little Jira instance so that you can see. Let me just share it again. Yeah. Are you seeing my Jira instance?
Yes.
So in this particular project, I am looking at the Kanban board as a project that is ongoing, and I want to understand my team. Now herein, I look at my people on the far left corner, and I already have a small team. Now, in this team, I have defined specific roles, right? And, I have roles like the QC handler, the Scrum Master, the software tester, the supervisor, and so on. Now, these roles can be predefined by the Jira administrator, and that's done through this little setting button here. And when you go into your system, you can set various project roles that you wish to add. So in this case, if I want to add, say, for example, a procurement manager, so this person manages and oversees the procurement process. So here, I am actually technically now adding a new role. So when I go back to my project, which I've just shown you earlier, and when I go back into my project setting, and when I start looking at my people, same guys that I have, and when I start looking at the list of roles, I can now see the procurement manager. Now, what I'm saying is that, of course, Jira has got a very complex, very, I would say, quite a thorough permission scheme, and I wouldn't want to go through that in this session. But essentially, you can actually group them into certain hierarchies, so to speak. And then these little hierarchies can be given certain permission rights as to what they can do, whether they can track a user story, whether they can create a sprint, and so on and so forth. So it gets a bit more detailed, and you can manage that on a very high level, what each person can do and cannot do. And I think this is brilliant because you now start to map your entire team and start to really make your Jira instance very, very personalized. That's something I think it's quite excellent that Jira has. So let's then now move on to the third reason of using Jira. And I think this is probably one of the most important reasons why we use Jira. Not that the first two reasons are not important. Well, we need to manage a project, right? And a project has project management activities. And this comes with tasks, it comes with bugs, it comes with issues. Whatever you want has to be managed. And obviously, the most popular ones that we talk about very often are, Kanban boards and Scrum boards, right? In Scrum boards, we work in small cycles, increments. You have a dedicated backlog that can be planned and allocated to sprints, and you can do all of that. That means you can come up with a backlog, and you can actually say this much of the backlog will be in sprint 2. this much of the backlog can be in sprint 3. You can do all of that in Jira quite easily, quite seamlessly. So that is possible using Scrum in Jira. Whereas in Kanban, yes, you can do the same thing. You've got your own swim lanes where some of us have it as to do, in progress, done. Some of us have QC in between. Some of us have different gate checks. So you have your own workflows. Now all of them can be seamlessly done. Now, that's all fine and good, right? But have a look at this one. Now, this is really an example of a board that is poorly configured. You don't have your work in progress limits. That means this board is not actually helping you, because if you had put work in progress limits, the board will never become like this. Now, this is what I mean that Jira instances, Jira boards not being configured correctly. And a poorly configured board can be confusing and difficult to work with. If your team can't locate the issues easily, trust me, they give up and they will never use your Jira instance. And this is why I keep telling people that when you have a Jira instance, make sure, please make sure you configure it well. And that includes a whole lot of things. It includes your permission settings, includes your team, includes your progress, your board configurations. All of this has to be configured. And well, this is a better board, right? This is a board that I suppose all of us are more familiar with. It's visible, it's not too cluttered, it has the appropriate filters built in, and that's brilliant. So it's a combination of how we use the colors, that filters, and all the meaningful information that's quite helpful. And this is really what it should be. Now, obviously, Jira supports other methodologies besides what we've just seen earlier, Scrum and Kanban. You also have other interesting combinations, and I like it very much, and I think it's brilliant. Scrumban particularly, it's something I like very much because you have fixed length sprints, you have the best of Scrum, yet you focus on work in progress limits, which is coming from the Kanban element of things. So you are actually ensuring that your team do what they're supposed to do, but not more than what they should be doing at any one time. So you don't really have the bottlenecks that you don't want to happen. I mean, you want it smooth going. And of course, you have Kanplan, which is your Kanban with your backlog. That is what you call it as Kanplan. And you can mix these up quite well. And last but not least, I think one of the hallmarks of Jira is it's really about trying to have good reports. And speaking from experience, and I think many Scrum Masters, product managers, and product owners, they will testify to the need of having good reports. And I think as a leader, as an agile leader, if you have good, well-configured boards and reports in your system, in your Jira configuration, it really helps keep your health of your project in check. And Jira has got some really good native reporting. You can use the Jira query language, and that does it quite well if the fundamental reporting tools are not good enough for your needs. So let's try and look at some host of Jira reporting elements that are typically used. And if I were to say open up one of this, I were to look at reports. Now I see one set of reports. Now the reason why I do not see other reports, because this board was set as a Kanban board. So it depends on the project choice and methodology. Accordingly, the reports will differ. So supposing if I were to say, look at some other reports, and if I were to look at this, yeah, pretty much the same. Let me try and see if I can plug out something else. Okay, let me see if this works out. All right. So you have quite a bit, but not exactly the ones I'm thinking about. You have loads of other reports that you can customize out of Jira, and you really need to know which project configuration you're looking at. Let me see this one. That's pretty much the same, but you know what I mean. So essentially, when you choose Kanban, you get the range of reports for Kanban. When you choose Scrum, you get the range of reports for Scrum. That's really what it is. Now let's get back to our slides, and I'm conscious of time. I just want to get us going. Right. So we are almost at the tail end of our presentation now, but this is very important. And I think if there's one thing that you want to take away, this is perhaps one of them, right? When you are setting up your Jira instance, please really make sure that try and understand what is that outcome. You know what they say, right? Look at the end in mind, the light at the end of the tunnel. It's pretty much the same thing, right? What is the releasable product? What is that outcome you're looking at? And work backwards. And that will give you a strong indication, and that will help you plan your releases and your versioning if you have them. And then look at your team, number two. Organize your Jira along the team, and so that the team will feel as if that Jira is augmenting them. It's not like it's a burden, right? So it's your Jira instance should mirror your team's work, and you can configure your workflow according to that. And last but not least, the business units. Understand your business units well enough. These are units, whether it's your product, your procurement, your sales, your finance, and so on. They must have a particular pattern. Try and map that pattern closely enough to your Jira instance. And trust me, people will feel that it's helping them. Because otherwise, they just think it's another tool. I'm better off not using it. This is my little takeaway for you. And really, what does Agile mean? This is really the last slide. What does Agile and Jira mean for leaders and managers? Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about Agile. And Agile is not about numbers. It's about people. As described in the Agile Manifesto, we talk about authentic human interaction. And it is more important than rigid processes. So collaborating with customers and teammates is more important than all the protocols, right? So at the end of the day, it's the delivering of acceptable outcome. Your solution, your product, your outcome has to be more important than all the hyper detailed documentations that we typically churn out. Now, here's the important part. Now, the Agile team has to be united with a shared vision. Now, once you have that shared vision, then they know why and what they're doing it for. And this is where you come in. The moment you get their buy-in, what happens next? Trust me, the team will know what to do. You just have to align and trust the team to do what they need to do because they have been aligned to the vision. Now, although it may be scary to trust them at first, I can tell you that much from what I've done with other project teams. It's scary, but the moment you put trust in your team, they tend to feel a greater sense of ownership, and they will rise and meet and exceed expectations. Now, this is what we want. And often, trust me, it's not easy. It's with trial and errors, but you need to allow them to evolve and mature. Now, let me add one closing remark here. Now, if you configure your Agile tool well, a number of things can happen. And I mean your Jira instance well. Number one, it improves your communication and promotes visibility among your teams and your stakeholders. It allows you and your team to scale and grow because you speak a common language As your team increases in size, you'll find that's not a problem. And number three, you will never have the challenge of working just simply because you're working, because you know that you've created an environment for them. And that happens when you have a working Jira instance that is aligned to you and your team. Of course, it is easier said than done. I know it's a lot of talk by me, but remember, we are here to help you as part of the Atlassian community. And with that, I'd like to open the floor for some questions, and feel free to place your questions into the text box, and we can pick them up if you have any, or if there's any specific areas that you think we can cover for the next round of presentation, please let us know as well. We're pleased to have them added on for the next round. Any questions, any thoughts, or any ideas? It doesn't have to be a question.
Yes, we have a question from Rosli. He has asked, is there any free trial version?
Yes, I've seen that question. Rosie, yes, there is actually a free trial of up to 10 persons. You can use Jira up to 10 persons in a free trial. You can do that. But of course, it comes with certain limitations, but you can do that. Practical knowledge of Jira would have been good. Yes, Charu, I wish I had the time. It's really trying to juggle a few things today, actually trying to set the context, being the first time we're having this event today. And I echo your sentiment, and I would love to have shared a bit more, but we are constrained by time. We might take that into consideration the next time. Thank you, Charu, for bringing that up. I think we can take another question, at least before we before I pass it on to Bhuvna for the next interesting part of the day. Last call. Okay, so I guess no, you can still come. You can still come. I mean, we'll keep taking questions even after. Not a problem. Right. So thank you so much. I'll pass on the floor to Bhuvna. Over to you.
Thank you, Sanat. Thank you so much. We had about nearly 49 registrants for today's session, but we see like the turning numbers is quite small. So we had a plan to have a lucky draw so that we can sort out the gift voucher to the first 10 scorers. But since we have less than that, so Tamana said like she'll be sharing the voucher code to everyone who has participated today.
Sure, I think that's brilliant.
Yes, I just made a conversation with that. Yes, Edwin. But since we already prepared some Kahoot game to all of you, maybe we can have something to make this particular first event to be more engaging and fun. I hope you guys also agree with me. So before we end the session, let's have a small Kahoot game. If you all know about it, we're going to have a very simple 3 questions will be asked. And in order for you to play this game, I think you have to get with your mobile with you, right? And take over Google page, go to Google, and then you type Kahoot, KAHOOT.IT, Kahoot.it in your Google page now. Anyone, can you look for it, or you want me to add in the Google? In the chat?
Maybe you can chat. Yeah, add it to the chat.
Yes. Nanda has helped me out. Yes.
Okay.
So Nanda will be coordinating on the Kahoot game now. So in order for you to use the Kahoot, just get into the Kahoot in your mobile phone. And in a while, Nanda will be sharing the screen with the game pin number. So you just have to enter the game pin number. Maybe Nanda can share your screen, Nanda. I hope, Sanat, can you stop sharing your screen so that Nanda can
Yeah,
share?
sure.
Yeah. So, right. So Nanda even has given, yes, Sharu, yes, it will be asking for the game pin. Nanda has already given the game pin to you guys. So we'll be waiting for all the players to coming into this portal before we start the session. Definitely this is going to be a very fun game for you guys. I hope like you don't mind to try it. Yeah, I already see like Charu and Edwin is already into the game. Yes, Ko Yuen, great. Yeah, Candy is also there. Yeah, Venki, that's great. That's a screen. Are we missing anyone? Rosalie, can you manage to come in? Charu, do you have that in the chat? Just type 6702987. Oh, in order for you to get the game pin, you have to use kahoot.com and you register for it and you add your question, then you can play with your teams. Okay, I think I already see everyone over here. Rosalie, Venki, Candice. Just to elaborate a little bit about this Kahoot game, the top scorer is depend on how fast you attend the correct question. So you'll be seeing the questions over your screen, which displayed by Nanda, but you have to answer with the right color. You have to press on your mobile phone. So that is the way like you have to answer Kahoot game. I hope that is there any questions before we start the game, guys? All good? Shall we start the game?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sure. Okay, Nanda, I think you can press the start. Good luck, guys. That's great.
Okay, most of us answered that correct. I think sales reporting is, although perhaps could be one of the uses, but it's not a mainstream use of what Jira does, right?
Let's move on to the next question. Yes.
So Winky is leading.
Yeah.
Yep. So here when we talk about configuration, right? So you have Scrum, Kanban, and mixed methodologies, but you don't actually do much configuration in relation to your forecasting, right? So yeah,
Yes.
that's.
So we have the last question.
Winky is still leading the pack.
That's great.
Brilliant. I think most of you got this correct. It's really the project team that will benefit the most, right? The rest are also in the equation, not as much as the project team. Great.
So it's time to showcase the score.
Okay. Indeed.
Oh, someone else has won.
Oh,
Oh, Edwin.
Edwin.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to all the winners and all of you who have participated. Thank you so much. This is brilliant.
Thank you so much. Edwin was the first person who actually getting into today's session, and he deserved for the definitely to win the session. This is just to have a fun, guys, because this is our first start. So we want to make it more engaging and fun because all of you are new for us, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us today. I think even we finished earlier than expected time. So just to make a thank note to all of you who have been patiently be with us this evening. So the event was sponsored by Agile Management Consultancy and Cure for Tech Asia. So when we are talking about both of us, myself and Sanat, we will conduct Agile training, coaching and consultancy in a number of areas. We also do Agile certification programs, coaching, and Agile project management using Jira, Trello, and also the masterclass on Agile project management.